Hi everyone. So today we're taking a bit of a look at Heroes of the Storm, a brand new MOBA inspired game from Blizzard, makers of World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, Hearthstone and many other games. Now, the first thing I want to address with this game is a slightly strange rumour that was coming out of someone who may or may not have worked at Blizzard. And it was basically that Heroes of the Storm has very low expectations for success internally. Now, to me, this seemed like a very strange thing to have rumoured out, especially because having played the game for a couple of weeks now, I find that there's an awful lot here to have some very high expectations of. They've managed to create a game which feels fresh and new and vibrant, yet obviously is playing into very well-worn game mechanics that we know and love. But those well-worn game mechanics have then been given, well, a big boost really, because this is much more objective-based gameplay. This is not really lane creeping, fighting out in the lanes in the hope that you build up enough XP and then you can steamroll in the late half of the game. This is much more about, really, action from the very first moment. Creeps are really just there to fight each other. Everything is really focused on either the enemy heroes or on those objectives which will give you bonuses in destroying the enemy's keeps and eventually taking out their, well, nexus, let's just say. Everything here feels so well polished for a game that has effectively just left alpha and gone into beta. Not uncommon for games coming from Blizzard because of the way they tend to develop. They polish as they're going along, so you're always kind of playing something that feels just about ready for release. The character selections they've gone for here, those heroes from StarCraft, Diablo and Warcraft, feel wonderfully vibrant. They're so well animated and hugely detailed in their character models. These heroes have a wide range of different abilities, fitting into a number of different classes. You have your classic up-close and personal tank, your assassins, as well as your support characters as well. And then we kind of split down again into range or up-close and personal. Now it all works very well and it helps the team dynamic because it's not just going to be a case of everybody choosing damage dealers. That isn't going to work for this game particularly. You have to have a good team mix, and if you don't have at least one support character, ideally two support characters, you're probably going to struggle. Especially when it comes down to zoning out your opponents, capturing those objectives. Whoever actually has some support backing up those damage dealers is probably going to come out on top, especially if you've managed to focus down your opponent's support characters. Zone control is absolutely crucial in Heroes of the Storm. Being able to put on a big show of force and locking your opponent out of key areas of the map, even for just a few seconds, can really turn the tide of battle. The maps are wonderfully varied. If you've got bored of playing the same League of Legends and Dota 2 maps over and over and over again, you'll really like what they've done with Heroes of the Storm. At the moment there are 5 maps, with plans to just keep making more maps as they come up with new ideas, and refining the maps they have if they start to become overly stale and boring. But because they're objective based, it allows the developers at Blizzard to do interesting things, to almost create their own story and narrative for each of these maps. You may very well find yourself having to collect up gold coins and deliver them to a pirate captain, who will then unleash cannonballs at your opponent's fortresses. It might be you need to gather up seedlings from, well, crazy plant creatures basically, collect up enough seeds and unleash a monster that will go and rampage its way down the lanes, taking out all of your opponent's stuff until they can stop him. Or it could be taking over some laser towers, and essentially these towers will, well, open up a big lasery whoop-ass on your opponent, razing buildings to the ground. Again, all of this is based around objectives, controlling objectives, or battling out and zoning out your opponent so you can gather up these various resources. Whoever has the most resources is going to do the most damage. But one thing I found very interesting whilst playing this game is just because your opponent seems to be overwhelming you, say during the first half of the match, that doesn't mean it's a complete write-off. You can still fight your way back if you're prepared to, well, take a few risks or really work as a team. Because of the way that they've constructed this game by removing in-game items, in fact there's no items in this game at all, some of the difficulty in choosing the best optimum build and then, obviously getting shouted at because you picked the wrong item, is kind of removed. And likewise, because heroes don't level up individually but level up as an entire team, we're all working towards a pool of XP that effectively is shared equally between us. So effectively, we all reach level 10 at the same time on the team. We're all working together, and again that creates some interesting strategies. Because for instance, 4 of you might want to go off into the mines to be collecting up various items, whilst one person stays on the surface fighting creeps, building up the XP. Even a small advantage, even just maybe 10 seconds advantage when you hit level 10 and you get your first ultimate, can make a big difference to the flow of the map and whether you're going to win or not. There is a lot of meta here to really get involved with, which I really like. Heroes of the Storm at the moment feels like the best iteration we've actually had of this style of game, and that's kind of to be expected given that these style of games, these MOBA, Defense of the Ancient style games, really started in Warcraft 3 and obviously ported across into things like StarCraft 2. A lot of the kind of game mechanics we have here feel really familiar, but done in such a way that you'll instantly realise that this isn't like games of the past. This is something different, something new, and in many respects a better version of everything we've ever had come before in this style of game. Personally, I think this little nod from whoever it was internally at Blizzard was actually a bit of PR. What better way to get people talking about Heroes of the Storm and realising it's now in a closed beta, but you can buy it with a Founders Pack, remember, for 30 quid, than to say that you have some low expectations of the game. Low expectations? I'll better go and have a look how low expectations are. Let's have a look at the game. Of course, it's going to generate PR, it's going to generate buzz. There is no such thing as bad press, even if somebody is saying, oh, we have low expectations. It's a strange choice of word to use, low expectations. They didn't turn around and say the game's crap. They simply said, low expectations. Effectively pushing that to the community to say, prove us wrong. Come and check out the game. So that's what I actually think that little bit of PR was all about there. I think it was more a case of a puff piece in many respects to get people to talk about Heroes of the Storm. And it's worked, because it's prompted me to tell you what I think about Heroes of the Storm. So, have you been playing this game? Are you looking forward to it? Have you been feverishly trying to get hold of a beta key? Well, do let me know in the comments. And as and when I get some codes to give out, which I'm sure I will, I'll make sure they're deposited here first. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can pledge $1 a month on Patreon to help support the Androidizen, keeping us 100% independent. An honest opinion direct from the UK. If you pledge $1 a month, you'll be entered into our prize pool to win cool items from our review bag. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. We love to chat.